But in a situation where you find that a person look at the situation,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, welcome back. It is now time for the dailies today, and let's take a look at what is on the front page of a Daily Trust newspaper. Paris Club House states LG's directed deductions of fees, says Malami. You can find details of that story on page 5. Senate approves Buhari's 7.6 trillion naira external loan request, and details of that particular story can be found on page 18 as well. On page 5, which is the lead story here, federal government unveils 348.7 trillion naira national development plan. And you can find riders that says Oshibajo, Peter Side, lead implementation team. Private sector to drive initiative with 85% contribution. Plan likely to create jobs, wealth, says experts. And then at the footnote of the front page, you'd find a story here on page 3 that says 31 killed in Taraba, Katsina, and Imo states. And then APC mum as Buhari, Bajabia Mila, others congratulate Soludo. Details of that story can be found on page 31. 2022, INEC budgets 1.3 billion naira for funerals, Christmas banners, others, and details of that can be found on page 28. I would love to get details of that, And the final story on the front page of Daily Trust is IPOP kills 3 butchers, 7 others in Imo, and you can find details of that story on page 5.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the stories on the Punch newspaper this morning. Right on page 17, you'd find speculators lose billions as Naira appreciates. Exchanges for 540 per dollar. Oh, that's good news. And on page 2, APC governors lobby Malami to stop Buhari from signing electoral bill. And on page 22 of the Punch newspaper, CBN clamps down on crypto companies. Bureau de changes shuts accounts. You'll find details of that on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. And still on page 22, Nigeria loses 396.93 billion to Twitter ban, 24 days to 6-month anniversary. And the big headline on the Punch newspaper this morning states Nigeria's debt stock hits 42.7 trillion naira. Senate okays fresh 116 billion naira loans in dollars. While we increased Buhari's loan request by 12 billion, says Senator. More borrowings put Nigeria in unfavorable conditions, that's according to experts. Still on the Punch newspaper, you'd find Kandu's lawyers stage walkout as DSS bars Ohaneze, others from proceedings. 17-year-old girl's body recovered from Kwara well 4 days after declared missing. That's quite a sad story, isn't it? And you find the details of that on the Punch newspaper. These are some of the stories on the Punch this morning.
All right, so with that, we'll move on to the Nation newspaper. Gunmen kill 22 in Imo, Kaduna, Katsina attacks, and you'll find that story on page 3. Buhari, Ngige, Ohaneze Ndibo, Buhari, Ngige, Ohaneze, others greet Soludo, and then a writer here that says Ozigbo, Uba concede defeat. You'll find that on page 2. Lagos, Ogun, Bauchi can't be NDDC member states. Find that story on page 5. And Buhari to French investors, Nigerian economy viable. You can find details of that story on page 4. We also have this one here that says CBN plans single-digit loans for manufacturers. And the lead story here is governors can't back out of Paris Club debt, says Malami. And we have 2 writers here. Controversy rages over consultancy fee. AGF states paying already. And then we have this story that says 6 in race for PDP vice chairman. FEC okays 348 trillion naira for development plan. And on page 5, you'll find a story that says IPOB judge frowns at Kanu's lawyers for staging a walkout. And these are the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
Okay, let's head to The Guardian this morning, where you'd find Senate okays Buhari's $16 billion, £1 billion, $125 million loan request without terms. And a writer is saying World Bank report shows massive gaps in systems to track poor countries' debts. Another writer states FEC okays 2011-2025 National Development Plan worth 348.7 trillion. And the last rider states external reserves to surpass $42 billion mid next year, says Emefiele. And on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper, you'd find Buhari, Fayemi, Ozigbo. Others congratulate Soludo. And on page 5 of the Guardian this morning, insulate Nigerian law school from politics, Wiki tells Senate. And on page 7, gunmen kill lawyer, 12 others destroy property in Katsina. Court adjourns Kanu's trial to January 19 as lawyers stage a walkout. Lagos says no directive to demolish remaining Ikoyi high-rise buildings. So these are some of the stories on The Guardian this morning.
All right, with that, let's start by dissecting this particular story on Senate approving Buhari's 7.6 trillion naira external loan request. And like we've said, we have Hamza Idris in the studio to, share his opinion on these stories.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, the issue of law procurement, approval, and all that has many perspectives. Some people feel that it is wrong to borrow, and in governance, you just have to borrow, but sensibly, and then the deployment should be efficient, should be channeled towards things that will oil the economy, things that will better the lives of people. Yes. So there is also politics around it. As you can see, some people are saying there are no terms, that the Senate only approved the loans. I don't think so. There must be terms, because those who will give the money, they will need some collateral, assurances and all that, so that at the end of the day they will recoup the money. And mostly the intervention comes from foreign financial institutions. And on many occasions, it's not just the cash that comes. It is the value that comes. Yeah, if it is for infrastructure, they will, flag it or time it directly to certain sector, maybe health, education, and all that. Above all over the world, countries borrow. And as I said, it is how you use the money, what you do with it, that matters.
Okay. There has been quite a lot of conversations about, getting loans and the utilization of these loans in Nigeria. In your assessment so far, have we properly, utilized all of the monies that we've borrowed?
Well, as a journalist, if I take position on this, I might be biased, you understand. But generally, you can see a lot of projects going on in Nigeria. The railway, roads, and many others. But we are a funny people. Yes, it is very difficult for us to talk positively about our leaders, especially when they are in power.
Isn't this because of lack of, confidence in these leaders?
Yes, and they don't talk also. That gap in communication is very dangerous. Even at family level, if you don't communicate, you are bound to face serious crisis. So government must up its game, and it must spend a lot, because communication is very expensive. They have to tell Nigerians that, okay, these are the things we are doing. And then besides, why people are not appreciating or are questioning the integrity of some of these laws is that they don't trickle down to human capital development as expected. People are hungry. You understand? People are poor. People are finding it difficult to accomplish basic privileges of life. To eat 3 times, to pay bills, school for children, health, and all that. So it should be double-edged. While you are investing heavily in infrastructure, you should also channel part of the resources directly to people. It's not that they are not doing it. You have the N power, many other interventions, conditional cash transfer. But you realize that they are tilted towards some people,
Right.
to favor politicians and all that. Because the poor, they are still asking questions that, okay, you have budgeted this, you have budgeted that for us, but we are not receiving it. So monitoring, serious evaluation, and then sanction for people who are saddled with responsibility of dispensing these interventions should be taken seriously.
All right, let's look at the lead story on Daily Trust, which is the federal government unveiling 348.7 trillion naira national development plan. Now, the Minister of Finance and National Planning said this new initiative will replace the economic recovery and growth plan set to elapse in December this year. Let's have your thoughts.
This is an ambitious project, and personally, I am looking at it from the positive perspective. The same with the paper. Yes, you need serious stimulus to oil the economy. We're just coming out of the pandemic, which the recovery plan was meant to address, and it is going to expire by December. Now, this 348.7 trillion is huge, because it's multiple times the size of Nigeria's budget.
Yeah.
Yes, 2022 is around 16 trillion.
trillion.
So if you now put it here, it will give you like almost 20 times or more. It's huge. But what are they going to do to now achieve this? The minister explained that 85% of the funds will come from the private sector. And we have a lot of individuals and corporate organizations that have enormous resources and are willing to invest. This is a positive development. Yes. And then this is almost 2 times Nigeria's gross domestic product, that is GDP, which is the total monetary value of goods and services within a certain period. Now, if you have an intervention that doubles your GDP, it means a lot of money will be pumped into the economy in terms of infrastructure, in terms of social services, the issue we discussed earlier. That is releasing money to people to have capital, then investing heavily in infrastructure in terms of bridges, roads, you understand, cottage industries, agriculture, health, mining, and all that. Now, by the time we do this, the right way, I am positive that Nigeria will up its games in terms of its position in Committee of Nations. And it's not really a new thing, because even the United States of America, UK, Japan, Germany, and all that, from time to time they do that. The recovery plan is just like a rolling thing, which is expiring, but this one is going to last 5 years. Serious development plan. But our prayer is that next government, because the Buhari administration has less than 2 years to live. Now, if we didn't get it right, or they didn't do their homework very well, meaning they will fizzle out with the dream on paper.
Right.
So they have to put serious structure on ground to ensure that whether it is APC that wins next election or any other political party, it will be very difficult to topple the plan.
Okay. Now, a writer here states, plan likely to create jobs and wealth. That's according to experts. But, well, some would say, with the high rate of unemployment presently in the country and with the economic growth and recovery plan, Nigeria has not really fared well. Is this new development plan, going to change any narrative?
Honestly, we fared. People are entitled to, various observation, you understand, on issues. But when you put Nigeria side by side with other countries, well, the whole world was grounded by coronavirus. We are now trying to cover. When you look at it critically, we didn't do bad in terms of the approach. But we thank God, because I think the biggest intervention came from him. If you look at the number of people that died or suffered as a result of the coronavirus. But this is National Development Plan. National Development Plan takes more years compared to rolling plans. Yes. And what they said they will do with this, as I said, infrastructure. Now, if you are building bridges, when you look at the chain, the value chain is enormous. If you are building roads, the contractors, people doing iron, the cement industries, the laborers, engineers, architects, and all that. Meaning, if they will do, because I keep saying if, because it's one thing to have a plan. We are very good in having wonderful plans. But when it comes to execution, that is where you have the problem. So if they do the right thing, I am also optimistic that jobs will be created.
But do you think Nigeria is viable enough for investments? Because the president was telling the French president as well that Nigeria is it has a viable economy. And
it is. Nigeria is a destination of choice. Honestly, one of the experts we spoke to yesterday said we need some serious intervention in terms of insecurity. If we can secure the country, foreigners, they will be willing to come with their money to invest in Nigeria, because we have the population, the population of over 200 million people. That's a destination of choice. All the countries that are really rich in terms of production, they will not be there without countries like Nigeria. So, obviously, if we get it right, this money will seamlessly, come to the country.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, there are quite very, very interesting stories on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, but if you want more details of that, you can grab a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper. But now let's head to, other stories on other papers this morning. Now, on the Nation newspaper, there's a headline that says, governors can't back out of Paris Club debt, says Malami. Another writer is saying there's a lot of controversy raging, the consultancy fee and all of that.
Yes. You see, they have eaten the money already.
They have indeed.
Yes. And during the processes of getting the Paris refund, the governors were desperate. Okay, when will the money come? Can we boycott some of the bureaucracy? Yes, and that is where the consultants came in, because they have the wherewithal to, serve as go-between, among the contending parties. But it came with a price that you have to pay. And the governors then said, pay them, let's have the money, so that at the end of the day, since we are not going to refund some of the money coming to our way immediately, fine. And that was how the Office of the Attorney General, agreed to deploy the services of the consultants. And now it's pay time, and the governors are really averse to it. We did an analysis that if it stands, many states will not be able to pay salary, over 30 of them, because the money is huge, and it is going to be deducted from what the states will be getting from the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC. So I think that is their fear, but they just have to find a middle ground to agree. The Attorney General, and by extension federal government, say you can't renege, you can't eat your cake and have it.
Right.
Yes, and the governors are saying no. The arrangement, the protocol and all that was problematic. We only got to realize this now. So we have to go back to the drawing board again.
Okay, let's talk about Kanu's trial and, his lawyers staging a walkout even as the court actually adjourned the trial to January 19.
What they wanted was for the judge to maybe pass a verdict or to grant him bail, which is very unlikely, because when you look at the charges against him, issue relating to sedition and all that. So the case will definitely drag for a very long time. But the good news is that just yesterday, the Attorney General said they are open to all options regarding agitations for maybe, but I don't think if he meant maybe allowing Kanu to have his way, that is to have the Biafra. Yeah, but maybe if he will renege, if he will renounce the issue of Biafra, just like Iboho, for the Odudua nation. But governments all over the world, they have a way of dragging some issues for a very long time until the steam went completely. Yes, you can imagine if Kanu is released today, probably the celebration will even mean another thing for the Nigerian state. We are not saying, because it's not within our purview or our responsibility to say that, okay, he should be released or he should not be released. But as I said, it's just like the Elza Zaki case, for how many years? From here, they move here, they amend the charges and all that. Obviously, we'll continue to witness this. Now they said next hearing will be next year. So
that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Critics have actually said that the walkout was a deliberate move, to stall the trial process.
Yeah, in one way. Because lawyers also have their way of manipulating process in their favor. Yes, whether you are right or you are wrong, I don't think if you will not have lawyers no matter your case, no matter how bad it is, lawyers will always be there because that is their work. It's just like a medical doctor. No matter the condition of a patient, once that patient is taken to the hospital, they will say there is hope. There is hope. And that is how lawyers operate. That drama made the headlines.
Right, it did actually everywhere. It's trending on social media as well.
Yes. But you know, as far as the judge is concerned, he said, okay, based on the arguments and all that, okay, let's meet again next year. So we are here and we hope to go to court because some journalists went to the court as early as 5 a.m. yesterday and they were denied entry into the court, which was another news.
Okay. Now, there's this story that Zainab is can't wait to hear you talk about, and that's INEC budgeting 1.3 billion naira for funerals, Christmas bonus, and the rest.
All agencies of government, they do this. Yes, they have what they call honorarium also. Now, anticipated deaths for this one, meaning that some people will, lose their loved ones, maybe some of the workers will die and all that. So they made provision. It's not bad, honestly.
Okay.
It's funny. Yes, it's not bad. But the money is much. 1.3 billion.
That's
maybe
huge.
enough to build
That's
maybe
huge.
5 health facilities or thereabout. But that notwithstanding, if you are working in an agency, the expectation is that if you are bereaved, you should be supported. Yes, you should be supported. Sometimes they even, in some agencies, they give a huge amount to announce the death, like sponsoring a whole page, but it depends on the cadre of the affected person. And a full page color advert is now nearly 700,000.
Okay, many would say depending on the cadre of the affected persons.
Yes.
And lower cadres,
No, it cut across.
Okay.
Yes, it cut across. Even here in Delhi, let me be frank with you. There is provision for things like that. If you are bereaved, the company will support you. Yes, but does it get to the affected people at the right time?
Right.
This is where the question comes, because sometimes you realize that somebody is bereaved, is even finding it difficult to travel to go and attend to the dead. And the funny part is, why waiting until somebody dies before you reach out to him? I think the support should come before somebody dies. Yeah.
But then 11.6 billion naira.
That's huge.
That's huge.
But look at the size of. I'm not depending on it. As I said, the money is enough to build many hospitals, enough to build many schools, enough to build feeder roads, and you can imagine the trailer load of fertilizer that can translate. And this, as I said, this cut across many government agencies and parastatals. But the saddest part is the execution. If you notice, and I hope you do a story on that, you will see so many seminars ongoing now.
Yes.
Because the year is coming to an end, December. So many agencies, and this is another side of this story. You see agencies and all that organizing retreat, seminars, changing curtains in their offices and all that, just to spend the money. Because if you didn't spend it, you just have to take it back to the treasury and then maybe put it in your next year's budget. But you see zero return from most of the agencies, and they spend the money towards the end of the year, meaning they don't really channel it appropriately. Because if your budget starts January or March or thereabout, you have like 9 months to do serious things. To do serious things, even if it is a training. 1 day training, I don't think if people who attend that training will go home with anything serious. But this is what is happening. If you go to town now, even outside here, all the hotels, they are filled up.
Yes.
Yeah, bringing resource persons left, right, and center in order to spend the money. It's very common with our agencies, especially in Nigeria. And I think we should have a rethink, going by the fact that we borrow most of the monies that we used to do some of these things.
You know, some will say Nigerian doctors are asking
For hazard allowance.
For hazard allowance. That is.
Zainab, don't you deserve hazard allowance?
And then we're seeing
I think we all deserve hazard allowance. Yes.
And then we're seeing this huge, loud budget and all of that. Is it fair
for
to say?
burial?
And then even the hazard allowance is 5,000 naira for doctors.
Yes, quite insignificant. Not enough for good meal. Yes, in Abuja, I think in some places you spend 20,000 now to have good meal, which is more than half of the minimum wage. It's a funny country.
It is.
Okay. All right. Let's see. There was a lot of how do I call it? Still talking about insecurity, because not a day passes by where you don't, find cases or stories of insecurity,
Yes.
on the papers. But then there was a case that happened yesterday, and in Taraba, Imo, where a number of people were killed.
And Katsina.
In Katsina, where a number of people were killed. I'm asking the same question a lot of people are actually thinking or want to ask. When will this end?
The killings, the ones we reported today in almost all the 3 states, happened between Tuesday and Wednesday.
31 people.
Yes, 31. That is the ones we had. You can see another paper said 20 something.
It could be
Yes,
more.
and if you check, we are working on a report which gives a higher figure. Yeah, we will have it out very soon. It's very sad. Lives very cheap. While coming, I heard it in one of the radio stations. Somebody saying chickens have more value now than human lives. Because chickens are well secured, you have to pay to get it, and then you go and slaughter it. But humans, sundry criminals are on rampage. We call them with different names. I attended a meeting recently where somebody from the Office of the National Intelligence Agency said it is the newspapers and then the media by extension that give different names. We call them bandits in Katsina. We call them kidnappers in Benue and Nasarawa. We call them terrorists in Borno. But what do they have in common? Heartlessness. They just kill. Like in Basari in Katsina, they storm a village, kill people, burn houses, and all that. A member from that area said they only got to know a day after because the telecommunication system has been grounded. In Taraba, it was a kind of is it reprisal? Because it's not, I can't even call it reprisal because the villagers there summoned courage, track some kidnappers and then dealt with them. Now their cohorts somewhere now mobilized and then storm the village and then kill.
Terrible.
It's very sad.
It is.
Yes, so the security forces need to up their games. They need to coalesce. I don't know. Some people say the seizure of communication is working, but a lot of things are happening, especially in the northwest, a part of Kaduna, Sokoto, Zamfara, and even Kebbi states, and part of the Federal Capital Territory here. People are dying every day. In some places, when somebody is killed, one person, you see the response. But here, some newspapers, we don't even promote the story. If it is 3 people or 5 or 10, we bury the story inside. It's sad.
Well, is it that we are not, the Nigerian security architecture is not gathering enough intelligence, to tackle this situation?
No, the intelligence is enormous. I'm a journalist, you are a journalist. Look at the quantum of information we receive. And I can assure you that whatever we have, they also have it. I had cause to interact with a former intelligence person who told me that there is no single word in Nigeria. You understand? No single word, and we have thousands of them, that you don't have security agent. If it's not a police person, it's a military person who might be maybe Army, Navy, or Air Force, or civil defense, or immigration, or custom. Not a single word. So what are we talking about? So in terms of intelligence gathering, we are good at that, but it is translating it to produce results that is problematic. And some agencies hoard some of the intelligence they have. There are agencies that are basically meant not to fight, but to gather information and then share it with sister agencies. And then when there is the need, multiple sister agencies can come together to execute a project. But they all want to take credit. Yes, they all want to take credit and say, okay, we have done this, instead of working together.
One would actually say that since Nigeria actually, goes to other countries for peacekeeping missions, why is it difficult for them to keep the peace in their own country?
As I said, rivalry. If you travel out, funny enough, from the aircraft, you see somebody from far north. If you sit together with somebody maybe from far south, you become brothers. And when you land maybe in Germany, in US, or wherever, if you see the love between the two, maybe an Igbo person, then Hausa person, or Yoruba and Ibibio and all that, you will come out with the impression that they are twins from the same womb. Yeah. But it is back home that we use this, needless profiling, and at the end of the day, we will not get it right.
Right.
Yes. So it's about having the love of the nation, loving one another, and then believing that it will not be fine with me if you are not fine. That is the way forward for us in Nigeria.
Okay, now let's just take one more story. Now, considering the number of borrowings, is it still wise to keep Twitter banned? Because there's a report here that says Nigeria loses 396.93 billion naira to Twitter ban, 24 days to 6-month anniversary.
To whose account was the money going? This has been the question. You understand? Now, part of this money that Nigeria is trying to spend, one of the areas is expanding the tax net. And then the issue of Twitter falls within that jurisdiction. Okay, open an office, pay tax to Nigeria, because they have not been paying tax directly. Of course, they have created jobs to many use, because once you tweet, it's like you are creating money for somebody. But what of the government? And the question you ask, Nigeria keeps borrowing. Now, assuming Twitter is paying, they have recognized office in Nigeria, maybe Abuja or Lagos, and many other agencies will expand the tax net and they are paying. The volume of Nigeria's indebtedness will start coming down. It's now over 40 trillion, right? But look at what we want to spend in the next 5 years. Are we going to borrow this money? As the government said, 85% of it will come from the private sector, Twitter inclusive, Facebook, Instagram, and many other digital options that we have. So while it is bad to restrict information dissemination, it is also good to do it the right way. So, but I think government should hasten sorting it out with Twitter, because they said they are willing to this, and the Minister of Information also traveled out, went and met with the owners of the app, and then they agree on certain terms. I think we should cut the bureaucratic red tape so that we can fast track, because certain things that you can resolve within a week, you see us dragging it to a year, 2 years, 3 years, and all that, which is needless. This is my observation as far as this one is concerned.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Hamza
you.
Idris, General Editor, Daily Trust, for coming on the show this morning.